serve breakfast. We don't serve. We borrow that hour. We don't pay that.
No, it's on. Do you know if it's on?
I believe so.
Yeah, the red light when it's on.
I think so. I can text everyone.
Okay, good morning. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I think I say it too many times here in Florida this winter, especially this cold winter morning. So it's already Chodesh Adar, and it's time to prepare for Shalach Manos. There actually are people that are preparing as we speak for Shalach Manos. Each year it seems this mitzvah expands in its scope, whether it's sometimes people expand the amount of people they give Shalach Manos to, sometimes they expand their theme of what they give from Shalach Manos, how elaborate the Shalach Manos are, what the theme of Shalach Manos is. And you find all different things. I'm just thinking now as I say it. I remember my in-laws would get Shalach Manos from somebody who worked for the Art Scroll company. Every year the Shalach Manos came with a sefer, a new Art Scroll book. Not bad. That didn't count as one of the minim. That's a discussion, but Pashas, it doesn't count. But, it looks good in the wrapping, the nice cellophane wrapping, basket, whatever you have. You have a nice new Art Scroll book with it. That's a nice way to go. I've seen Shalach Manos where they stacked boxes. You see these towers. It looks like skyscrapers in New York City. They stack one box on top of another box. Of course, each box, one is like a drop wider than the next. Most beautiful towers of Shalach Manos boxes. Any type of theme in the world you could dream of, I'm sure there's a Shalach Manos that will fit that. Well, one popular theme, in fact, I know a couple of my friends did it just last year, was to give sushi for Shalach Manos. It works. You can have your whole family get dressed up as, maybe not this year, but as Asian Americans. And right? Next week we'll talk about the Corona Shalach Manos. But people get dressed up in the full garb and they serve for Shalach Manos sushi. The question that we're going to pose today, does that qualify for kosher Shalach Manos? It might be kosher sushi, but does that qualify for Shalach Manos? Then you say, Rabbi, we already did a shir this year on sushi. You're right. we must be fascinated with sushi. We did a share earlier this year. Can one put together sushi on Shabbos? Is that any malachas involved in the process of building your sushi roll? But today's share is focusing on, can one use sushi as Mishloach Manos? And really, one of the issues which we're going to get involved with also is what is the bracha you recite on sushi? And really the main impetus why I decided to give this share, and I'll speak about it a little bit later, Rabbi Levine, David Levine, just passed away this week. A wonderful, wonderful person. He worked here as the secular studies principal for many, many years, decades. And he was a figure, I had a wonderful relationship with him. And he took a lot of pride in the fact that I was giving this halacha share. And every so often he would come to me, Rabbi Kier, do you think about doing this topic for a share? He'll even show me sometimes Marmakomos. So I clearly remember earlier this year, in fact maybe even in the summer, he came to me, Rabbi Kier, you have to give a share. What is the bracha on sushi? When someone eats sushi all year round, not just Purim, what bracha does one recite? And he put that idea in my head way back when. And I figured, Le'il Nishmaso this week, to give a share that will address that, we'll touch on that as we get to the middle of the share today. So, the question we're going to deal with, can one use sushi as Shalach Manos? Just as in one other aside. In some ways, it's a very smart Shalach Manos. Because the day of Purim, you find people nowadays, a popular thing, you have people making a barbecue. They'll give you a hot dog, a hamburger. We'll talk, does the bun count? Hot dog, hamburger. If you have that at 11 o'clock in the morning, you have a little problem unless you're a yeki. You're fleishiks the rest of the day. And someone gives you a nice, fresh cheese pizza. I've seen those too. You have to put it in the freezer. Sushi being the fact that it's pariv, no matter what your status is, you're good to go. For that reason, that's why, whether it's a milchik restaurant, a fleishik restaurant, everybody has sushi chefs, at least till recently. So, the first thing we'll do is go over the basics of the halachas of Mishloach Manos, which are always kedai to review. Especially there are halachas within that many people don't know. So we're going to start the halachas of Mishloach Manos, the Shulchan Aruch. Being the fact it's so prevalent, people have shilos, what the right things to do. It's quite interesting. It's one sif. Forget about a simon. It's one sif, one halacha inside the entire Shulchan Aruch. That's all it is. It's Siman Tafrei Tzadi Hey Sif Daled. Mechaber writes, Chayiv l'shloch l'chavero shnei manos. Person has to send to his friend on Purim, right? Just as one friend, 2 manos, 2 types of food. Basar, of meat, also media ochlim, or other type of food. Shenemar u'mishloach manos ish l're'ehu. Shtei matanos le'ish echad. It's 2 presents to one person. Matanos, mishloach manos. Sorry, as opposed to matanos le'avyonim. Okay. V'chol amar b'l'shloach l're'im mishubach. To send more people mishloach manos is praiseworthy. It is a nice thing for a person to send multiple people, maybe even a lot of people, mishloach manos. Then einlo, what happens, unfortunately, if someone's poor, machal v'im chavero, l'zeh shalech, l'zeh sudaso, l'zeh shalech, l'zeh sudaso. Each one sends to his friend the other on the asuda, k'dei l'kayim mishloach manos ish l're'ehu. Right? Within, it's interesting, the lashon the Mechaber uses, he sends his suda. One of the ideas behind the Shalach Manos is giving people food to have at the Sudas Purim. Nowadays, most Mishloach Manos, it is not eaten at the Sudas Purim. But it is one of the ideas that dates back to Trumas Hadeshen, that the reason why Mishloach Manos is food for the Suda. Haga, the Yesh Mishloach Manos biyom v'lo b'layla. The mitzvah is to give it out during the day, not at night. V'im sholech manos reheyu v'hu enirotz l'kablo. O mochelo. You want to send it to someone, he didn't accept it. Or sometimes you have cases you leave it at the person's door. Halach is yatsa, you're yotze, because the main thing is your giving. Even if the person himself didn't accept it, didn't get it, no. Now there is a discussion, I'm not going into that today. You have to send the Mishloach Manos on Purim. If you send these things, sometimes they have now, you can send to Eretz Yisrael and this, not so pashut. You have to send it on Purim. Okay, I want to go through a few of the Mishnah Berurahs because they add some elements. The first thing the Mishnah Berurah writes, the Sefer Binyan Tzion, Siman Memdal Nistapek, Im Hevi Ba'atzmo Hamanos V'lo Yidei Shliach Iyotze. If you yourself bring the Mishloach Manos, but you don't send the messenger, are you Yotze? Kivan Diksiv Mishloach, it says you're supposed to send it. Maybe you specifically need a shliach. Very important halacha. Some people don't know this. Ideally, the Mishnah Berurah is saying, bring this idea, and he doesn't say conclusively you have to do it. So if you never did this before, don't worry, you're yotzei, tashtas. But the Mishnah Berurah does bring a tzad that in order to be yotzei mishloach manos, you have to send it with a shliach. You can't do it yourself. Now, if you have younger children in your home, that works. It does. You could have your young kid, doesn't matter the age, boy, girl, anyone, send the mishloach manos. To be honest, if you have help, you have a maid, someone helping out in the kitchen, doesn't have to be Jewish, UPS guy, right? That also works. The idea is you have to have it. You're supposed to send it with a shliach in some ways that's more chashiv. Sometimes people find you have a nice kid who comes to your house, so you give him $1. Hey, do me a favor, go deliver this to my next door neighbor. You don't necessarily have to do this in all your mishloach manos. Some people have it just for one of them. They'll have someone else be the shliach. But there is a concept of not delivering the mishloach manos yourself, rather having a shliach for at least one. Some interesting halacha Mishnah Berurah brings down. In Sivkat and Chaf, I'm skipping one in the Mishnah Berurah, we said Mine Ochlim, V'lo Begadim V'shar Dvarim. You can't give clothes. That'll make for a nice teenage mishloach manos. Imagine stuffing food, one thing of food inside a nice new pair of sneakers. Right? Pretty cool way to give mishloach manos. But Mishnah Berurah says it does not count. If you put two foods in the sneaker, now if it's brand new, yes. If it's not new, no. Might contaminate the food. Yeah. But you can't give sneakers for mishloach manos. As mentioned before, the art school biography might be a beautiful thing, but pashtus does not count as mishloach manos. V'huadin mashke, the shaper dami d'shtia b'chal achila. You could give a drink, because a drink is considered part of food. And you have one food and one drink. Now that's a little bit not so simple. I have seen some poskim say you can't give water. Water's nothing. On top of that, you can't give seltzer. You can't give soda. I saw some poskim talk. And that is pretty common. A lot of these yeshiva guys just buy a can of soda and a snack. So you see from here, buy 2 snacks. Soda is not simple. For sure, seltzer, water, wine, beer, that's something chashuv. But just a simple soft drink as they call it. No, orange juice would work. Milk, chocolate. Ube'inan she'min olcha mevushal. Ideally, the food has to be cooked. Lo basar chai. It can't be raw meat. You know your friend loves grilling a ribeye, so you get him a nice ribeye. The Shabura brings down, it's not good. It has to be something ready to eat. He does bring the Yesh Omrim that since it already was shechted, so that's already a certain hachana, a certain preparation. That's good enough. But Chef Josh, yeah, what?
Is there anything when giving cold chicken? They have to heat it up.
Interesting. That's different, right? Very good point. If a person gives something that's cooked, just that it's cold, and they have to go through the process of heating it up, that I think is fine.
Really, we're thinking
Okay, perhaps. Yeah, as chef, some people grill quicker than others. Something just needs to be warmed up. Yeah, you can have it cold too. That's okay.
What's the problem with soda?
So I think the soda issue is soda's really, I wouldn't even call it fancy water. It's mostly water. Dirty water. So there's nothing to it. As opposed to, orange juice, that's, pressed from an olive, wine, milk, something like that. Beer. Yeah. Yes. Great point. It was brought up that some people could even make Havdalah on Coke. So doesn't that mean that it has a certain chashivas? Yes and no. It might be it's good enough to recite maybe Havdalah, maybe Kiddush, maybe not. But Agufa, even for Kiddush too, you want to jump at it. You had something else.
We're not specifically saying that you have to have a mashke, you can have two cooked foods.
Exactly, right. When in doubt, just get two, doesn't even have to be cooked foods. 2 foods, 2 things to eat. Yeah, candies, all good. Now, one more Mishabura I'd like to share with you is the last Mishabura on the page. I cut it off from top. The Ramah wrote that a woman's also chayiv in Mishlach Manos. Very interesting halacha. He writes, Shekul no yiba nes. Even though Purim is normally what we call a mitzvah seish, it's a drabanan, but it's a time-related mitzvah. Nevertheless, women are chayiv in it. Sha'av ein no yiba nes. They also were saved. They were involved in the miracle of Purim. She has to be happy. One way of being happy is giving gifts. Also of helping aniyim, matanos avyonim. V'ksiv kimu v'kiva Yehudim, v'gam nashim b'chlal. The Megillah says the Jews accepted. Jews means women too. The Kasav Avram, the Magen Avram wrote, in my times, I don't see people being careful about this. I don't see women giving out Mishloach Manos. And he's bothered by it. Why aren't they? He says, maybe it's only by a widow who doesn't have a husband. Maybe over there's a mitzvah Mishloach Manos for women. But a woman who has a husband, the husband takes care of it. However, nevertheless, the right thing to do is to be machmer, and for women also give Mishloach Manos. So this, I think, is a very important halacha. Women could be spending hours and hours and hours setting up Mishloach Manos, and never once did it occur, this halacha, and to have in mind that at least one of the Mishloach Manos should count for her. She's to send to a good friend of hers. It's my Mishloach Manos. I went through these halachas, takas, an important thing. I just told my wife. Got to make sure. Yeah, so normally there is a concept of ishto kagufo, and what I do counts for my wife, but if there's a specific chiyuv on her, the Mishabura here is a tzad, he's bringing this Magen Avram, that there should be one specified specifically for the woman.
You can't bench for your wife.
Huh?
You can't bench for your wife.
Right. It's a responsibility of them. Yes, that's a perfect thing. We learned before there's a mile of being a shliach. So you could be the shliach to deliver it. Doesn't mean your wife has to get out of the kitchen. But you said that, not me. But I won't repeat that one. But the Maisa, it is kedai to have at least one Mishlach Manos. Woman designates this is for her friends. This is for her Mishlach Manos. Yes, you're not married yet. Okay.
No, I was going to ask that as opposed to because Muslim, that sounds like more of a chiyuv. This is more of a chumrah. It's not really something.
I would say it's a chumrah. It's a din, and avi mahi v'osanes is a legitimate thing. I just want to be careful. I don't like chumrah is a bad word. 100% women are included in the mitzvah of Shalach Manos. Right, it might be debatable at this point if they need to do it themselves or they yotze with their husband. But either way, the Mishnah Berurah does come out that we should try to do this.
Even with the stuff for of Egypt for group?
Yes.
It's still very important for women before they get married, that period of time.
Yeah.
to be married.
True. Before a woman's married, ideally they should be doing this too. Stama. Unless you say their kids, shalos of ishto kagufo. Okay, hold on. So till now, I went through the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah there. What constitutes Mishlach Manos? What we did not find much clarification, other than the fact that drink works too, is what's considered two minim. You have to give two minim. What is two minim? Mechaber was not clear. Shulchan Aruch wasn't clear. Even the Mishnah Berurah wasn't especially clear about this. So this we're going to go to is more modern day Sfarim expand on that principle. And that's very major because there are a lot of confusion when it comes to two minim. The first element of confusion is, do the two minim have to be two different brachas? There's a famous mimer, I'm not sure where it started, but Mistama, some Beis Yaakov somewhere. And every year I had the same discussion with countless students and others. People are under the assumption that Mishlach Manos needs to be two separate brachas. So you need a fruit and a vegetable. You need a mazonos and a shahakal. Not true. No such halacha. Mishlach Manos means you need two types of foods. It doesn't have to be drastically different, but they're two different brachas. You 100% yotze if you give a nice piece of schnitzel and a nice hamburger. 100%, they're both shahakal. That's a good shalach manos.
That's the Mechaber's case.
Right? Yeah.
Because
Shtei mini basar.
is two
Right?
pieces of meat.
Right.
Basar.
Yes. So they do not need to be two separate brachas. No such thing. Important idea to know. The Shmuel Kamenetsky spells this out beferish in a sefer. Now the second thing is, okay, well, what constitutes two types of meat? Two meats, two things. Can I give someone, you have a nice roast. I'll cut two pieces and give that from a Shalach Manos. Right? Shlomo Melech said, Tovim mashnayim min ha'echad. Two is better than one. What's better than one piece of roast beef? Two. If your doctor says. So, does that work? On this, the Aruch HaShulchan spells out beferish, no. You can't give the same thing twice. It has to be two different things.
Oh, that started off as the same item.
Yeah, right.
Never started off the same item.
Right. Exactly. Because you can't take something, we'll get to sushi, but, okay. But you can't cut up something and say, oh, now I have 2 pieces. That might work to trick your younger kid. But it does not work for Shalach Manos. For Shalach Manos, has to be 2 distinct, different foods. Yes?
I feel like canned tuna and tuna steak, no one uses it the same type of fish.
Oh, so I like to talk about poppers and wings. But they do have a question. Let's say you have 2 types of chicken. You have white meat and dark meat. Does that work for Shalach Manos? Are those considered 2 different minim? You give a case of 2 types of tuna. What would you say? They're both chicken. You have an answer to this? So what would you say? 2 types of chicken. Dark meat, white meat, poppers, wings.
I could make it a little bit more complicated. What if you take the same roast and you cut the roast in half?
You cook it 2 different
one
ways.
way and cook the other way.
It's a different thing.
That might be, right, that might be challenging because it is the same thing, just cooked a little different. You know, in my case, white meat and dark meat, one could argue, are 2 different types of meat. The meat to begin with.
What if you take it from the same chicken?
Same
in
chicken.
that case.
But
The
you
whole
take-
chicken, you cut it in half, you break it apart.
But it does have 2 different tastes innately. Yours is only the different taste because I cooked it
Because you
different
made
way.
it that way.
I made 2 different tunas. Who knows?
When they slice chicken and slice turkey, they're almost the same thing.
Yeah. So on this, I found a very interesting machlokas of modern poskim. Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach writes 2 different types of chicken, white meat, dark meat, would count as 2 minim, and you could give an array of chicken. Or Shmuel Kamenetsky argues not. that one can't do that. That's not considered distinct enough, different enough to be called 2 minim. End of the day, it's chicken. Might even be the same chicken. Yes.
What if you have the one food and then the pot with that food, let's say like grapes and grape juice, oranges and orange juice,
Very interesting.
apples and apple
Can one
sauce.
give grapes and grape juice? That's an interesting theme you have going there. Apples and applesauce, grapes and grape juice. Right, so people bringing up those are different brachos. Very good point. That's very interesting. You know, once you process something, that seemingly is different.
That's what they make a Shalach on it.
Right, it's a different thing.
So then there goes
But-
your steak and your hamburger.
My steak and my hamburger, why would
If they both came from the same cut of meat.
yeah, but they are different. I'm not sure.
Not being the same thing.
These are also.
I'll say that's different. You say this falls in the same machlokas. Okay.
I don't know.
It was
I'm
the
not
same
sure.
thing as my.
Tomato
my
and
original
tomato
soup.
soup. It's the same.
It's really the same. Tomato soup. Very interesting. I haven't seen these themes yet. Here's a tomato soup, and here's tomatoes that it was made from. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. If you want to have these themes, please have your wife call me beforehand. We have to approve of all themes. Now,
New level of conscious.
so we see these things are not so simple. What constitutes 2 minim? Right? It's a very good Shiloh. I'm not sure. For sure, I know it's in print. If you have 2 types of chicken, white meat, dark meat, poppers and wings, that I found the machlokas. Between Rav Shlomo Zalman and Rav Shlomo Kamenetsky.
Well, even the preparation is among locus?
The preparation one, I'm not sure.
The wings is among.
I believe so. But now let's get trickier. What would you say about, you know, it sounds like a good fruit from Shalach Manos. Can I give franks and blanks? Hors d'oeuvres. I'll give a hot dog inside a mini roll. Does that count from a Shalach Manos? I have 2 things. I have the roll. I have the hot dog. Does that work?
It's cooked together, so it's really only one item.
It's cooked together.
It's
So let's say I gave you a hot dog and a bun.
Give it separately, that's one thing. If you combine them both and then give it, it's a whole nother, that's creating a new item. Once you separate them outside and you hand it to them, then they have to combine them.
So I have to be careful with this guy. This guy, I think last year, didn't know what you guys did? No? But you give hot dogs and hamburgers. So,
Happening again, right?
what would you say? Does a hot dog and a roll, are those two minim? Franks and blanks. Yeah? One thing? There's two things?
What if you had the franks and blanks and you had one separate little hot dog without the blanket?
What bracha would you make on it?
Right? You're saying, let's say you have a frank and blank, and you have a separate frank. So here we're going to start getting into brachos issues. You're right.
It's two separate brachas, two separate meat. For sure. Maybe not so sure.
I'm not sure.
Wouldn't it
This is a
depend
Manos
if it's
hot
one
dog,
entity
come on.
Yeah.
and what it is?
Huh?
It would depend on if we view a frank and blank as one entity, right? And you're not Yotze with that, that's why I have the other hot dog, then the question would be, what is that entity? Now you have to decide if, assuming a frank and blank is one thing, only one thing, then is that the same, is that one thing the same?
Same as the hot dog.
As the hot dog. If it's
Right.
the same, you didn't get anywhere.
Maybe the better way to visualize it.
It's a Mazonos hot
Let's
dog.
make it instead of just a frank and blank, what they have called a hush puppy. Hush puppy is a much bigger dough around the hot dog. So you have this big dough around the hot dog, and then in your case, a hot dog right next to it. So really, we're going to get involved with what's the bracha you make on the hush puppy. What is that? Right? The hush puppy seemingly is one entity. That's for sure. What is it?
In other words, what is it? Is
But
it
that's
called
more-
a hush puppy, or is it like a hot dog?
Right,
It's
that's-
a different kind of hot dog.
Right, that's why I put in the hush puppy rather than a frank and blank. Maybe we could debate. Is that little dough covering of that, is that tuffle to the hot dog?
You can also distinguish.
Mizonos, maybe it shouldn't be. But for sure, a hush puppy, which is much more dough, there seemingly you would say that's for sure more mizonos. Choladeos.
But would it be only
It would also be the
But
same-
your hot dog is a different thing, shahako. But is that really different? Is that the same? Yes.
I mean, if I were catering that, give me a whole pan of hush puppies, and there's extra hot pot in it, I'm just gonna look at it, it's like, what is that doing in my pan? It's like,
They view it as two separate things.
no, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't.
I'm saying it's just extra hot dog that got in there, like, it's still part of the same concept, like, you don't view it as a different.
Okay, it's still in the hot dog family. So let me expand our discussion. What would one say about salads? Okay? If you make a nice salad, you cut up your different vegetables, some avocado, sprinkle in, some French fried onions, whole little salad. Is that 1 minute or 2 minutes? For women, that's probably the best shalach manos to get, right? Right? Once we went through the halacha that women have a chiv to give shalach manos. So now I just made popular the salad shalach manos. They're going to give their friend salad. Is salad alone 1 minute, 2 minutes? You're mixing together all different things.
That would be the category of meat, whereas you have a whole variety of vegetables.
Right?
And even
You have
raisins.
a tremendous variety of vegetables, yes. Does that work for Mishlach Manos?
That's a platter? That variety of vegetables? That's a
Why
platter?
would, if the meat works, why wouldn't that work?
Using the items together.
I think a platter is
They're still separate,
for
they're
sure.
still separate. You can pick which ones you want out of the salad.
I see this is your favorite topic. So an argument over here, distinguished by the hush puppies, the franks and blanks, you are connecting those things somehow through cooking. A salad is not cooked, it's just assembled. So if anything, you're trying to argue that salad's better. Salad maybe is 2 minim. It never was fused together, just mixed together. So maybe that should work for 2 minim,
You can separate it when you're trying to eat it.
right? For people who don't like different things in salad, I'm guilty, right? Especially you know how to do burger, right? You separate out the stuff you don't want. So maybe a salad should count for 2 minim. Yeah?
Just because you put two different things in a bowl, does that use it?
Right? You get croutons in the salad. Yes?
Make a can of mixed nuts.
That reminds me of a story. I was once by my great uncle's house. He just asked, "What about a can of mixed nuts?" So on his little table there in the living room, they have thing with nuts. He's like, "I want to tell you something about your family." Uncle Suki. He says, "Bunch of mixed nuts." No. A good sense of humor. But,
Those are all one thing.
huh?
Those are all
So,
one thing.
the poskim do right.
It's a thing of nuts.
This I saw beferish. Shmuel Kamenetsky says, if you assemble together a salad, halacha is it's 1 min. Salad does not count. End of the day, if it's assembled together already, even if you could take things apart, even though it's not fused together, Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky Pascal Beferish, it's on the bottom of your sheets. He says you are not Yotzei Mishlach Manos. You still need one other thing. Yes?
How does he or others learn the Shulchan Aruch's wording of meaning? Like, mean in my mind is a species, but it's not a dish. A dish
Right.
can have multiple species in it.
Right. It sounds like the definition of minimum is not different types of food. In general, is this one food?
But what about a platter? You have a
So salad, you wouldn't say salad is 2 foods. You say salad is 1 food. It's one thing on the menu. So that's one food.
Otherwise, if you don't, you could have the same shiloh, all these things, but there are many, many things you can have the shiloh for. A pie. Yeah, everything is apples and pie. You have, I made chicken and I put onions on top of it.
Right.
So I
But
had
this,
chicken and
no, the
onions.
argument here is it is better because it's only assembled. It's not cooked. So it's never fused. Yes?
I think Brian started asking about if you have a composed salad, which means it's purposely not mixed together. It's like different parts on top of each other or next to each other. So it's by definition.
they're in compartments.
And what would you say?
There's no reason to call it. You call it, you would order it as one thing, but it's distinctly different items in there.
So that's an excellent point. And this I discussed with Rai Friedman this past week.
A vegetable platter.
If you would have a salad for assembly, they'll give a nice, clear, plastic container, and they'll have carrots in one part, and lettuce in the other, and tomatoes over there, and you get to assemble it. 100% that works in Mishlach Manos.
Right.
The whole difference is, was it assembled together as one thing? Even though both of them, you're saying on the menu, that could suffice as a salad, but if they are separate, that would work.
So what about
Yes.
It's not separate. You order on the plate salad and swabs, different items on top of the lettuce. They're purposely not mixed together. That's what
Okay, so I'm not.
Before, I wouldn't call that
This guy's too much of a restaurant guy.
So that would be like the same thing,
Right?
you have a sushi cake and each piece of the sushi cake is separately compartmentalized.
Okay, I don't want to get back to sushi just yet. But if you give different ingredients, one could use to make a salad. That's your theme this year. Make your own salad, and you give the different ingredients separately. That Shmuel also writes it over here, Beferish. That would work. I'm afraid to go to these guys. Everyone has good questions there. Yes.
What about a cheese platter where you have rows 3 different rows of 3 different cheeses, but it's in one package.
Making sure that
Interesting.
please the.
That gets back to the issue we discussed before. If it's different types of foods, does that qualify for Mashalach Manos? Not. Your cheese platter, probably might be similar to the different types of chicken, but I don't know, because there it's all the same cheese, just the process of making it was different. So that's even more not so simple. Yes?
If you're now saying that whatever you throw into a bowl and mix together is now one food, does that mean you're saying that the dish in and of itself is the gift? So that means if you throw anything in there and you pull those on to mix it together, now you're saying that.
That's going to be a different topic later. We'll get to that. So far, where we're up to is if you give a salad assembled, the poskim say that's 1 min, you still need something else. But and giving a bottle of dressing on the other side, by the way, does not work. Important halacha. Poskim also talk about this. Spices, ketchup, salad dressing, all these likes do not count. It has to be a food. They all tell me, but I eat the spices by themselves. I eat the sauce by itself. Yeah, because it's good. But it doesn't make it a separate min, a separate entity. So if you have a salad, which is assembled, that does not count. But if you have a salad unassembled, that does. Yes?
A little more interesting question. What about those sabra hummuses with the crackers? The hummus is definitely eaten by itself.
Okay, I'm going to get to a case very similar to that. So I have one more issue with salads. Maybe I'll come back to it in a second. But so far, you see where we're going with this stuff. Salad, in a certain way, is like sushi. Sushi isn't cooked, right? At least not cooked together. It's assembled. So simply, it should be like a salad. If we're going to say if you put the stuff together, then okay. If you put it together, then there's only 1 min. If you gave it separately, if you gave the rice and you gave the fish, seaweed separately, and now you have to put it together, yeah, that would work, perhaps. So that brings to an issue, gets a little complicated. Right. Let's say you gave hummus and chips, right? And crackers you're going to eat with. Someone told me they first year they were married for Shalach Manos, his wife made soup, and they had a separate bag containing croutons. A blender. And he went to his Rosh Kolal. He asked, would this suffice for Shalach Manos? So his Rosh Kolal said, no, he didn't think so. Now that's a little tricky. Because granted, you're going to put the croutons in the soup, but everyone knows you can eat the croutons separate too. They're fun. And yeah, for sure if you eat it separately, you make a separate bracha. Right? In the soup, maybe not. But if you can eat them separately, for sure you make a separate bracha. So if anything, the croutons in the soup, if they were given inside the soup, that's a different shayla. That's already one thing. But if you give them separately, here's soup, and you attach to it a little pouch of croutons, I could hear that's the same thing as a salad, unassembled, which could be different fruits, different vegetables, and therefore that would be okay for Mishloach Manos.
Why can't you compare that to a hot dog and a bun?
The difference, I think, between a hot dog itself and a bun.
Let's say you give them options for what you want to make. You give them like a whole assembly platter and make it do it yourself thing.
Okay.
It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear. I don't know why he said it was no good, but I could hear that in the context of soup, croutons are not a separate meal. In other words, people do eat croutons. And I don't know, maybe if you gave just like croutons and a candy bar, maybe that would work for some, but croutons and soup, the croutons are not a thing, it's not a meal like, oh, I got croutons.
I'm hungry,
and
let's eat
soup.
croutons.
Right, like, that's just part of the,
I'm,
like.
Rabbi, I hang around Yeshiva Bakrim all the time. There are guys that eat croutons for
People
meals.
eat croutons, but
Yes.
people also drink salad, you know, you're here, I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah, they do salad.
People eat mayonnaise,
I said the Bakram.
right, people eat condiments. That was
Yeshiva
good.
Bakrim, I'm meaning. Anyway,
Right,
it's
that
a different
was good
conversation.
steer, that-
What a minute is. So hold on. I want to take a break for a minute from all these Mishloach Manos issues. Let's talk about, for a moment, Hilchos Brachos. Let's say I have a salad. This is also very prevalent. I have a nice salad. So normally your salad, you make adama on. A vegetable salad, lettuce, all that. You go to a fancy restaurant and you get a chicken salad. They have these nice big strips of chicken put into the salad. What bracha does one make now? Not so simple. It's a salad. The chicken might be part of the salad, but maybe not. They're charging you $30 for the salad. It's not because they got bodek lettuce. They're charging it because you got the strips of chicken, salmon, whatever there. That's quite chashuv. Pashtos, that chicken needs a shahakol made on it. What do you have now in terms of Mishloach Manos? Is that 1 min or 2 min? Very interesting shayla. Now I'll come back to this in a moment. Let's get into that issue I alluded to originally. What bracha does one make on sushi? So it's great. Took me 10 seconds to go around the room. I got 3 or 4 different responses. If you say depends, you always, machlokas, that's always the right answer.
Depends what you consider the
There's a major machlokas of modern day poskim what to make on sushi. I remember Rabbi Levine, Alav Shalom, mentioned to me all 3 tzaddim. He wasn't sure. And I could tell him that I found 3 different shitas of poskim. There are those of the opinion. I asked one of the local poskim. I found this is Rabbi Mandelbaum in Eretz Yisrael. He wrote a wonderful sefer on brachos, V'zos HaBracha. So they say the bracha you make on sushi is mazonos. Sushi is a mixture of rice and, let's say, fish. Since the majority, right, you know how they get away with, making money off sushi? They give you a little piece of fish with lots of rice, and, they charge money and make a good profit. The majority of that mixture is the rice. Since that's the majority, poskim say make a mazonos on it. There are other poskim, this I found quoted the shame of Shlomo Miller, Rosh Kollel of Toronto, that the correct bracha to make on sushi, fish sushi, would be shahakol. Being the fact that the ikar of the sushi is the fish, even though it's raw fish, but that's the way people eat it. So the halacha would be the fish is the ikar, and you make a shahakol on the sushi, despite the fact that there's lots of rice and mazonos that goes after the main thing. The main part of the sushi is the fish, and make a shahakol.
What would you make on an avocado roll?
Avocado roll, you make a bracha for the avocado. I don't know. For sure by fish. Comes along a third opinion, and this I heard some people were knowing like this, and I found who the source of this psak, Rav Moshe Heineman, the head of the Star K in Baltimore, very chashuv posek. Rav Moshe Heineman says the correct bracha to make on sushi is plural. You make a mazonos and a shahakol.
And what about the mango?
You make a mazonos and a shahakol.
What about the haze?
2. Then you take a bite. What is his reasoning why you make 2 brachos? No, there might be, seemingly it's Rove. He gives a very interesting svara. He says, you don't have normal food like this. When they make sushi, how do they cook the rice? By itself. It's not cooked together with the fish. You cook, first make the rice, and then you stick in the sushi. Stick in the fish. So it's really 2 separate things just being assembled. Well, if they're both chashiv, so they deserve 2 brachos. I didn't have a chance to call Rav Heinemann, but Rav Heinemann, according to you, could one give Mishloach Manos sushi? He holds a local l'maisa to make 2 brachos. This even fits the Beis Yaakov definition. Look, I have 2 brachos here. I have Mizonos and I have Shahakal. Call up the Star K. Can one give Mishloach Manos of sushi? He said there's 2 brachos.
Would Rav Heinemann be Yossi giving to Rav Shlomo Miller or vice versa?
Great question. With the posik who says you need to make 2 brachos be yotze, if he gives it to someone who only says 1 bracha.
No, what about the other way around?
So really that's the case. It's interesting. No, I want to do that this way first. Because we said if the other person doesn't accept it, you're still Yosef Mishlach Manos. So as long as by me this is called 2 minim, I'm good to go. Maybe if I send it to you, you get my message. These are 2 separate things. So what does one say? Can one be Yosef Mishlach Manos with sushi, especially if one says it's 2 brachos? So I'm not sure. This is already very tricky ground because, again, all these definitions of minim, for the most part, are found outside of the Shulchan Aruch, outside of the Mishnah Berurah and his era of halacha. It's all in the modern poskim. You know what I probably assume? Why don't we find this stuff earlier? In Europe, Mishloach Manos was pashit. You know, they gave an apple and an orange, whatever you had. They didn't have these elaborate Mishloach Manos. There were no themes for Mishloach Manos in Europe. So it's very simple. Halacha didn't address these. Nowadays, we just get so into it with Mishloach Manos, we mamash could write svarim on 1 sif in Shulchan Aruch. They didn't have food. You're right. They had nothing.
They ate like this with a salad with 35 different things in
Right.
it. You wanted chicken, you ate chicken. You wanted salad, you ate a tomato.
That's why the Magen Avraham says that in his time the women didn't get Shalach Manos. Now it's their mitzvah.
We come full circle. Now the women are fully involved. So hold on. So I came across, you look at the bottom of the sheets, in the discussion about salad. So I already quoted Shmuel Kamenetsky. He had 2 steps. If the salad is unassembled, the halacha is you make, the salad is assembled, that's 1 min, and that would not count for a full fulfillment of Mishloach Manos. If the salad is unassembled, that would count for 2 minim, and that would be good. But he talks about a 3rd shiloh. What happens if you have that chicken salad that we mentioned before? Your nice fat strips of chicken together with the bed of salad. Pashtus halacha is a strong tzad to make 2 brachos. Zakt of Shmuel Kamenetsky, you're not Yotze Mishloach Manos. Because end of the day, that's 1 food. It's 1 unit. Hilchos brachos might require 2 things, but this is 1 unit. It's a chicken salad. So you're right. You could have had salad without the chicken. You could have chicken without the salad. But once you even assemble them together, no one said fuse, just assemble them together, that has a din of 1 min, no matter how many brachos are there. And so too we would say by sushi. Sushi too. Even if you take the tzad that you need 2 brachos on your sushi, and even though it's never cooked together, but it's one thing. For sure, we would say your hot dog with your buns and your franks and blanks, and maybe your soup and croutons too. All these things are one thing. Okay, maybe if it's on the slide, it's a little different for the croutons. I'm still not sure. But once the things are assembled, even if there's 2 elements here that will require 2 brachos, but it's one unit. One unit is only 1 min, and you're only halfway there. You still have to give something else. I saw a cute thing. Some people gave Shalach Manos of sushi. On the side, they put a fortune cookie. That would be good.
Rabbi, on the side is pickled ginger.
Oh, is that a spice?
No, it's a vegetable. It's a vegetable.
It's a vegetable.
It's made,
Your pickled vin. Okay,
And then you have,
maybe.
you have the, what do you call it?
Yes. So that's quite interesting. So what do you have to say? Time to get sushi.
Give an apple and a piece of cake.
Huh?
Give an apple and a
Apple and piece of cake always works better. I'll tell you one other quick discussion. I found the Ben Ish Chai has a sefer Shalosh Teshuvos Torah L'Shma. In there he writes an amazing chiddush, which is quoted by the Kaf HaChaim, that if one puts together the 2 minim into one kli, let's call it into one cup, that only counts as 1 min. And most poskim argue on this. The modern poskim of Sternbach, I see attacks him, and Shlomo Kamenetsky, I see attack him. How's that 1 min? Just you stripped it into one thing. You know, you have this yeshiva guys all the time. You take a cup, you put in the bottom layer first cholent, and on top of that, you strip a potato kugel. What is that? 1 min, 1 thing or 2 things? That's 2 things you have to put in a cup, right? Especially, you know, you'll say, you know, it depends how far you go with this one kli. Does that mean 2 things in one basket's not good? Then you're going to say, all Jews Shalach Manos not good. You need 2 separate baskets. But for sure, you assemble something together. That's also an issue you could say with the sushi, because it's all wrapped together. But you assemble 2 things together, maybe that makes it 1 min. Others say, no, it's still 2 minim. But really, part of the issue here, perhaps this would even explain the Ben Ish Chai. Part of this issue is, what do I have in front of me? What defines something as 1 unit? Simply, if you assemble a salad, even if that's chicken in it, you assemble sushi, that makes it 1 min. But the Ben Ish Chai goes a step further. Even if the 2 things really are separate, you have potato kugel and you have cholent, but you put it together at least in one kli. Right? Let's say you cook the potato kugel inside the cholent. Right? Then we'll say that's one thing. So maybe even putting into one kli, that's where the Ben Ish Chai is coming from, also makes something 1 unit. And therefore, in terms of Shalach Manos, hey, you're only halfway there. You have to give something else. Give maybe a separate kli, a separate thing in it. But it's so fascinating, these halachos, especially, they're not spelled out in the Shulchan Aruch and the Shabura. We live in times where, Baruch Hashem, you know, a lot of people involved in the Shalach Manos, doing so many different things. Just like to end off with the story that I heard from Rabbi Luban. He told me, I'm here from years ago, that on Purim, his father was a Rav of a shul, and he said, Luban said as a kid, it was the busiest day of his life. His father had him going around giving out Shalach Manos. But one beautiful thing that Rabbi Luban Sr., Zatzal, did was he went through his shul list, perhaps even more than that, the community list, and he found people that he figured no one else would give him Shalach Manos to. They're not the popular people, they're the quiet people, unassuming people in the neighborhood. And he specifically went to all these people to deliver them the Shalach Manos. That's a beautiful thing. You know, sometimes we could get too caught up in the themes and the this. Okay, we could have issues with the brachos, with the simanim, with the minim. How many are there? But we should never lose sight that the whole mitzvah itself is to spread friendship, help others, tremendous simcha that we have on Purim. And Be'ezus Hashem, we should all celebrate a wonderful, happy. Thank you very much.
Well, no, don't congratulate forward next week.
I'm not saying it actually has to be.
Thank you, brother.
You
Thank
have
you.
cheeses that are 6 hour cheeses. So those are, well, that's not look at that.
Wow, you demolished the 30 base Spanish for this one.
I'm gonna ask you, I am gonna ask you.
Want to be part of it, so you also want to
No, no. You wanna tell him, make him happy? Hey, listen, I love you. You're son-in-law. You don't have to come to that. You don't have to come to that.